What's up, investors? It's the Russian dude. Not too long ago, a footage that cannot be shown or even cannot be described in words, it's that bad, appeared online. And it basically showed the grim reality behind Russia's so-called military discipline. What these Russian officers consider morale and physical training, in fact, is just plain bullying and humiliation of their subordinates. You might think that these videos are isolated incidents, something what usually does not happen, and that it was randomly recorded by some fearless person. But in reality, they shine a ruthless spotlight on how soldiers are really being treated. One clip, apparently filmed in Kyzyl, reveals a military policeman being physical with already injured men, and using even worse methods, supposedly for refusing to return to the front lines. Another clip from a Ukrainian drone camera shows how soldiers are simply forced to limp into battle on crutches. With full gear. On crutches. You heard it right. Those videos spread quickly, and yet the general audience remains largely unaware, thanks to a propaganda bubble that refuses to let such truths see the light of the day. In the official narrative, everything is either hidden behind thick veils of patriotic slogans, or retold as heroic tales of sacrifice. But what if I told you that the real story behind those who suffer, behind those forced to fight with damaged limbs, behind those filmed and humiliated by their own commanders, is infinitely more brutal than the official propaganda would ever admit? Because the videos that found their way on the internet are just the tip of the iceberg. The first of these videos shows the things definitely not for YouTube eyes. For those of you still interested, full and uncensored versions will be on my Patreon, the link is down below. The reason for such treatment is because already injured soldiers did not want to return to the front lines. The chances of staying alive while fighting fully healthy are already very slim. Now imagine carrying crutches in your one hand and an AK in another. You might imagine that if a policeman is caught on camera doing those things to fellow Russians, there would be an uproar, a swift investigation, high-ranking officials rushing to punish the guilty. But in reality, the outrage happened mostly on Telegram channels, guess where? In the comment sections. Mainstream media? Silent. Local authorities? Suddenly uninterested. Because this is what happens behind the scenes, far from the prying eyes of major cities. Soldiers are just expendable assets, no matter how badly injured or traumatized they may be. And strangely, the official reaction to this footage was also very minimal. Maybe because it was filmed deep in the rear, not on the immediate battlefield, where lines between legal and illegal blur to the point of non-existence. The second video, which surfaced almost at the same time, shows Ukrainian drones following Russian soldiers trying to make their way through the front lines on crutches. You see them limping with no one to shield them, no protective vehicles, and no real backup. The commentary in some channels suggests these men had been wounded before and were simply told to storm enemy position nevertheless. Which honestly, taking into consideration the previous video, seems like a true story. Perhaps they had no choice, or perhaps somebody forced them to go there. Either way, the end result is very much expected. Some viewers might dismiss this as just another horror from the battlefield, but if you ask me, there is nothing normal about barely moving men being sent back to fight. It screams negligence and total disrespect to human life by those in command. You might even think, didn't Putin praise the special military operation participants as heroes of the motherland? How about those videos where military representatives went to hospitals to personally award medals, or Putin shaking hands of those brave men? Apparently, it was all just for the show. Who would have guessed? You would think that after witnessing such nightmarish footage, there would be a wave of empathy or at least some official condemnation. Instead, what do we see? The same swirling propaganda about a grand patriotic duty, the same promotion of recruitment posters in the city streets, and the same crackdown on any voice that dares to call this war a war. The military leadership and propaganda mouthpieces sometimes double down, claiming these videos are either staged or represent typical wartime scenes. Some even claim that these were Ukrainian actors recording these videos to discredit the Russian army. Imagine how humiliating it is for an actual person in this video or for his relatives who recognize their father, son or brother. The main propaganda message is that cruelty is inevitable in any conflict, so don't you dare to judge these acts. This is supposedly the new normal, or so they want us to believe. Meanwhile, multiple testimonies from the front suggest a pattern. Once wounded, many soldiers are threatened, robbed of their pay, or simply forced to keep fighting. Some units are so desperate for manpower that they send half-limping guys with concussions back out there. What these people are even able to do? Completely nothing, obviously. Being eliminated in their eyes is just a part of the deal, a sub-clause of the military contract that they signed, and if you don't like it, there is a thug with the stick nearby to teach you a lesson. Or maybe they will film such acts to ensure your compliance. Even the wounded in hospitals cannot count on true rehabilitation. They face intimidation from officers who want them patched up and return to the battlefield as soon as possible. There are recorded stories of men with broken limbs or severe head injuries being declared fit for duty by very questionable medical commissions, all to maintain an illusion of unstoppable manpower. It is no secret that official statements talk about staggering numbers of so-called voluntarily returning heroes. Those who got injured but out of pure sense of patriotism and duty decided to return to the front lines. But they usually fail to mention that these returns are forced. One might wonder how many of those men can even lift a rifle, let alone fight. But does it even matter for the sake of the Russian propaganda? All you need to do is to record barracks or trenches full of people seemingly ready to fight. You don't need to interview them, you don't need to film close-up shots, and even if some unacceptable part is recorded, for example someone coughing or limping, you can simply edit this part out like it never happened. And voila, you have a combat-ready military unit which can't wait to face Ukrainians. At the heart of this horror are commanders who appear less like military professionals and more like mafia bosses. Some names have become infamous even among pro-war bloggers who typically avoid criticizing the armed forces. In the eyes of these war supporters, these officers and generals who used to be their heroes lived long enough to turn villains. Just like from one of the movies, if you get the quote. The stories are as consistent as they are chilling. Leaders who siphon off soldiers' salaries for themselves, who threaten to eliminate or abandon the wounded if they do not hand over a share of their combat pay. Commanders who send half-standing men to hopeless assaults just to report to their superiors that 20 more meters of Ukrainian land has been liberated. At what cost, you think they might be asking? Well, that is not the question that usually circulates within the Ministry of Defense of Russia. Achieve the goals at all costs. That's the spirit of the Russian military. They keep soldiers in line through fear. If you dare to speak out, you will be singled out for punishment, and if you are unlucky enough to catch it to be caught on camera, well, congratulations, your humiliation now might go viral. The victims range from newly recruited conscripts to hardened veterans who have already served multiple tours. No rank is safe from the lawlessness of those in power. And yet, no strong measures are taken to remove these people from their positions. The propaganda machine tries to spin it as a rogue individuals, as 1 in 10,000 case, but the pattern is too widespread and too systematic for that to be in the whole truth. It appears to be a reflection of a deeper rot, in which power is maintained not by respect or discipline, but by raw terror. If a man collapses from illness, he is branded as a weakling. If he complains, he's a traitor. If he is unlucky enough to catch an officer's anger, well, you've seen the videos. I'll try to find as many of these videos as possible and upload them to my Patreon, so that you can have a much clearer picture of what is actually happening, assuming you would want to watch them. Long story short, the message of the Russian military leadership is that once you're in this system, you either obey or face unimaginable consequences. You might think that after people of Russia see these videos, this would spark national outrage. You would think that families seeing their loved ones being treated like this and forced into hopeless battles would result in protests on the streets. But try to search these articles, photos or videos on the Russian part of the internet. You will see that most mainstream media outlets remain quiet. State-controlled TV channels rarely show a glimpse of these events, preferring more heroic narratives to maintain public support. News broadcasts focus on praising the bravery of soldiers or on demonizing external enemies. The only reason why some Russians did end up seeing these videos is because of Telegram channels, or just because of sharing from one person to another, almost like the word of mouth in the age of globalization and the internet. Because that is the only way unfavorable for Putin information is spreading inside Russia. Ordinary people who rely solely on official channels might have no clue what is really happening. The government has made it difficult to access alternative information. Internet websites that try to show the darker side often get blocked or labeled as foreign agents. This means that for a huge segment of the population, these images remain hidden behind official illusions. And so, the cycle continues. Soldiers keep filming, uploading their pleas for help or evidence of bad treatment. Telegram channels try to amplify these voices, and the rest of the nation either refuses to believe or simply does not see them. The truth sits right there, out in the open, waiting to be recognized. But if official propaganda can weasel their way out of these stories, then the highest levels of leadership can pretend everything is under control. Meanwhile, individuals like those from the first video in Kizil or those from the second video who are forced into battles on the crunches are left to wonder if the world even knows or cares about their existence and fortunes. Every single one of them signed a military contract thinking this is an easy way out of poverty, a quick way to settle down your financial problems. And upon return, you will also be hailed as a hero, because this is what Putin told them and promised them from the screens of their TVs. Just so eventually come up to a realization that the things Putin was talking about are a part of his imaginary world surrounded by protective propaganda bubble, which has absolutely nothing in common with the real world. Well, there you have it, guys. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. If you want to see those videos I was referring in today's episode, they will be on my Patreon. The link is down below. Thanks so much for watching. See you tomorrow.
We won't succumb to their tricks, the facade they try to sell. Their twisted words and feeble claims are all they cannot quell. We see through their lies, their feeble attempts to sway. We do not believe in what they